What's going on YouTube? This is Jonathan, and today I wanted to take a look at Axis and Allies 1942 Second Edition. Specifically, we're going to take a look at the area of the board that oftentimes decides the game, especially when you have players on opposite sides of unequal ability, and that is the Russian-German border. Now, Germany is a tricky country to play because you basically have to do everything. You have to hold off England, you might play around in Africa, you might have to worry about the United States coming in, and of course, even if nothing else, you always have to worry about the Soviet Union. Japan may be able to help you out eventually. I've not really set up the United States or Japan in this game because the first round on the Soviet-German border, they aren't really going to come into play. America isn't really going to come into play, like they will maybe a couple turns in the game. Now, I have found, both through my own playing of this game and other Axis and Allies games, as well as just reading strategies, watching videos online, that Russia seems to be the most misunderstood country. Everyone always says, your goal as Russia is to stay alive. Well, yeah, of course it is. That's the goal for any other country. And Russia is most likely to feel the full onslaught of Germany, so of course you want to stay alive. What this causes, though, is a lot of people to just buy infantry. And there is a danger in this because you are allowing Germany to take the initiative. Germany gets to choose when and where to attack, which can be a big problem. What you want to do as Russia, yes, you want to keep defenses in mind, but you want to make sure that you have a little bit of offense wherever you need it. And you want to make sure that, especially on the first turn, you're doing what you can to blunt Germany's initial attack, and you want to force them to counterattack on your terms until they slowly start to run out of troops. Now, they do have a stronger economy than you. You aren't going to be able to beat them in a fight one-on-one, but it's important that you bog them down in a quagmire for as many turns as possible while England and potentially the United States get into the war. The idea that the Soviet Union is just going to buy infantry and not attack, or maybe attack one spot and that's it, that is, if I'm the German player, I'm celebrating when I see that. And in fact, I just played a game recently where the Soviet player decided he would send everything in and attack West Russia. Well, West Russia is definitely a territory you want to take, but the problem was he sent all of his offense there. So he lost a handful of infantry, and then as Germany, I was playing Germany in that game, I counterattacked with infantry from both these territories, masses of tanks, and destroyed Russia's entire offense aside from its fighters that it has that obviously could not land in West Russia. And because they bought all infantry on their turn, they basically were in no position to make a real counterattack. They could with tons of infantry and a couple fighters and take some territory but suffer heavy losses, but they really weren't in much of a position to do anything, especially because I was easily able to come up here and take Karelia, and really Russia was not in a good position. The only worst move it could have made, in my opinion, is if it had just not attacked at all. Now, if they'd done that, I would have needed a few minutes as Germany to recalibrate my strategy, because I wouldn't have expected it. But ultimately, if I have all of my starting units at the beginning of my first turn, that is an amazing thing as Germany. If you're playing the Soviet Union, you definitely do not want that to happen. So what should you do? Well, like I said, we need to attack, we need to blunt the German offensive on their turn, and we need to make sure that we have a little bit of offense in our back pocket for our second turn. So what I would recommend doing, yes, of course, you're going to attack West Russia. That is too strategic. It allows Russia or Germany, whoever has it, to concentrate their forces right there rather than have to spread them along a front of more territories. So of course we're going to take that. That destroys one German artillery and one German artillery and one German tank. But we're also going to attack Ukraine. Why? Because again, we destroy another tank and another artillery. That hurts Germany's offense. And it also destroys a fighter, which not only hurts their offense against us, but it helps our buddy England. And we all want to be team players if we're on the Allies team, our Allies side. Now, what I would recommend for this is, of course, sending everything from Caucasus into Ukraine as far as your non-tank, non-fighter units. And send everything from Archangel, Karelia, and Russia into West Russia, again, aside from the tanks and the fighters. And then I believe that you would need either two fighters or two tanks down in Ukraine to have a really good chance of taking it. Somebody can check the odds on that if you want, but I believe it's going to take two units that attack at a 3 down there, and the rest are going to go into West Russia. So not only is this going to destroy a portion of Germany's offense, which will make it harder for it to counterattack, it's going to condition Germany. It wants to take Ukraine back. If it takes West Russia but not Ukraine, it has this massive border that can be attacked from anywhere in Ukraine, and any tanks in Caucasus can blitz through there and hit anything else. It doesn't want Ukraine to be in Soviet hands. It's most likely to try and counterattack there and leave West Russia alone, which means the couple tanks that were in West Russia are safe, and we can counterattack with troops from West Russia and West Russia and Caucasus going into Ukraine on the next turn, destroying more German offense over there. Now, after the second or third turn, we're probably going to start feeling the economic power of Germany. We're really going to be wanting England in the war at that point. But that gives us 2 solid turns where we're really hassling Germany, and they're forced to counterattack in a spot where we can easily sweep in and destroy their offense that they leave there. Now, here's the other thing about this strategy. We did leave Karelia open, and I prefer not to leave territories open with factories, but getting more infantry down here for our attack and then counterattack in Ukraine is absolutely critical. Yes, they're likely to take Karelia. They can build 2 units there a turn, which is kind of annoying, but it's not the end of the world. And it's especially not as big of a problem as it might seem, because if Germany starts moving up north, they might also be inclined to split their forces and try to go on the offensive up north as well as in the south. Well, now, instead of facing their full brunt, we can pick and choose which force we want to go up against. We are in a better position to take out Ukraine, but our troops in West Russia and any tanks or fighters that we have in Russia itself can easily move up and attack in Karelia if we need to do that. And if we decide not to, it's going to take those units an extra turn moving into Archangel before they're even within range of Russia. So we'll be looking pretty good there. Now, as far as purchases go, for the first turn or 2, as the Soviet Union, I recommend getting a fighter first. Why? Because a fighter is your offense, but it also can fly into a territory, attack, and then safely land. And it's also good on defense. Your tanks, unfortunately, when they attack, they're going to be stuck in that territory, assuming you take it, which means they are vulnerable to a German counterattack. I'd recommend making use of your starting tanks at the beginning of the game, but assume that after a few turns, you may not have too many of them left. Again, you should have maybe 2 in West Russia after your first turn that you'll counterattack with. But then they'll be in Ukraine and Germany will counterattack, so it's you're going to lose them eventually more than likely. So I'd recommend a fighter and then splitting the rest between infantry and artillery on the first turn, doing the same thing on the second turn. And then after that point, you're really just going to have to see what the board looks like. In most cases, Germany's numerical and economic advantages are probably going to start showing themselves, so you're probably going to want to go strictly infantry, maybe infantry artillery if you end up with a remainder, if you purchase just infantry, which is why it's especially important the first turn or 2 while Germany is pushed back, or at least held at bay, for you to use that, take that time to get a little bit more offense with a fighter on the first turn or two. I think that puts the Soviet Union in a pretty good position, at least on this front. Again, you'll never be able to beat Germany over the long haul on your own, but this kind of forces them on their heels. It destroys some of their offense. It helps England out. It forces them to fight to regain their territories in a way that you want them to. They're reacting to you rather than you reacting to them. And that is critical. You go first as the Soviet Union. You definitely want to make sure you use that to your advantage. Now, of course, your sub up north ought to join the British fleet just for a little bit of extra defense. Germany decides to attack, which it more than likely will. And over on the eastern front, we do have some units over there. Some will want to shift to the west, some we might send down into China, and then some will want to have over here to deal with Japan. That'll be a topic for a future video. As you can see, Japan and the US aren't set up yet, so we'll want to take a look at how they appear with their units, and then we can talk that strategy in another video. So I hope you enjoyed this one about the Soviet-German border, Axis and Allies 1942 2nd edition. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, any strategies, any areas of the board you'd like me to take a look at, comment on, run scenarios on, please leave a comment there. I'd be happy to take a look at that.